The prenup between Selena Gomez and Justin Bieber is now the most talked about thing on social media. And we really need to talk about it because the conversation is getting louder every day. I've been looking through everything, and the more I see, the more it becomes clear that this is not just any celebrity prenup that people are upset about. It's the message it sends, the timing, and the reason behind it. We need to talk about what made this whole thing so popular and why fans are so divided, even though no one knows the whole story. This prenup clearly hit a nerve with someone. And before anyone jumps to conclusions, let's look at what people really think it means. And the interesting thing is that even though this all started with Selena and Benny, you can already see how the internet is slowly bringing Justin Bieber's name back into the conversation without anyone even trying. When the news about Selena Gomez's prenup broke, it quickly became the talk of the town, not because of the paper itself, but because of what people thought it meant. The first thing that struck me after reading the reports was how planned everything seemed. It wasn't done quickly with a lot of emotion or under a lot of stress. It seemed like a choice made with a clear mind and a calm mind, with the kind of understanding that comes only after dealing with how unpredictable the industry can be. In the middle of all the online talk, one fan said something surprising. Selena has worked hard for over 10 years to get where she is now, so protecting it shouldn't be seen as mean, but as smart. And honestly, when you look at her path, the brand she built on her own and the career she kept going through every rise and fall, that comment seems fair. She has every right to protect what she has worked for. But there was another side to it, of course. Someone else replied, asking why the prenup had to be so strict and saying that being too careful can sometimes make it seem like you don't trust someone. I get why you think that way. We've all seen Hollywood couples break up under stress, and legal papers often become symbols instead of just steps to take. This prenup feels less like a reaction to fear and more like a step that comes with growth, though. Selena wasn't getting ready for something bad to happen. She was just trying to keep the life she had built long before the marriage safe. Because of the fact that people online were so divided about this prenup really brought it to the attention of the public. When people understood how serious the deal could be, the internet split into two very emotional groups. Some people saw it as a sign of growth, while others quickly thought it meant something was wrong behind the scenes. People act like it's their own problem once they decide how they feel about a celebrity relationship. Someone said that the way Benny handled everything calmly says a lot about how strong their relationship really is. That comment really stood out to me right away because it points out something that most people miss. In some cases, the strongest relationships are the ones where both partners care for each other as much as they respect each other's boundaries. When someone agrees to terms that protect the other person's whole life's work without asking questions, it usually means they trust them, not worry. But the other side of the talk got loud too. Another person replied in a very different way, saying that even if the prenup makes sense, it could put unspoken pressure on them later, especially if one of them starts to feel unsure. And to be honest, that's a good point, because in Hollywood, anything that has to do with money usually becomes emotional. The longer a marriage lasts, the more it seems like the prenup is about how people see their own lives rather than about Selena and Benny's relationship. Some people think protection is a good idea while others think it's a bad sign, but only they know why they made that choice. Not their relationship, but the idea of a prenup is getting a lot of attention. As this conversation spread, it became clear that people were talking about more than just Selena and Benny. They were talking about what a prenup means for a long-term relationship. In Hollywood, where breakups can quickly turn into court cases, a prenup is more than just a piece of paper. It becomes a message, a clear line that says, I care about you, but I'm also protecting what I built before you came into my life. And whether or not people agree with that usually depends on what they've been through. A supporter said that a prenup doesn't take away love, it takes away the worry of losing everything if things go wrong in life. And to be honest, that's true, not because of emotional problems, but because money makes small fights into big ones. Many celebrity marriages end. when everything is clear from the start. There is no need for that quiet stress in the relationship. But another fan disagreed, saying that a prenup can sometimes make a marriage feel more like a business deal than a partnership. They said that legal papers shouldn't have to be between two people who are completely in love with each other. It's a good point, because for a lot of people, marriage means bringing together all of their feelings, decisions, money, and plans for the future. That's why this conversation got so heated. People weren't just arguing about Selena's choice. They were putting their own ideas about her situation onto her. This prenup doesn't really seem like a sign of doubt to me. It seems more like a decision based on experience, maturity, and the idea that love is stronger when both partners know what their roles are. The internet didn't stop there, though. The talk about Selena and Benny's prenup grew. It quickly turned into a comparison. Fans have been making this comparison for years. People may not like it, but the conversation always goes back to the time Justin Bieber and Hailey were getting ready to get married. It's one of those things that people talk about every time a celebrity prenup makes the news. The story that was told to the public back then was very different. When Justin supposedly asked for a prenup, which a lot of fans thought made sense because he was so famous at the time. The reaction around him was very different from what we're seeing now with Selena and Benny. People say that Hailey and her family weren't happy with the idea. Some fans think it made things tense, especially since Justin was more famous and had more money at the time. The internet has held onto those stories, whether they were exaggerated or misunderstood. One person said that Justin asking for time to think about the marriage showed that both sides were unsure. The more I think about it, the more that observation makes sense. If a prenup causes problems before the wedding, it means that neither partner is sure about their choice. But then the talk changed. Another fan said that rumors about pregnancy pressure became the most talked about thing online, not because anyone knew the facts, but because the timing made people wonder for a long time. And that's what got people's attention. Not the facts or the truth, but the guesses. At the same time, the comparison got stronger when fans saw how easily Benny dealt with Selena's request for a prenup. No fights, no delays, and no news stories about being unsure. The difference between the calm acceptance and the rumored pushback made people look back and wonder how much they trusted each relationship. This part of the conversation isn't really about who was right or wrong. It's about how two prenup situations that happened years apart got very different reactions from the public, and what that says about each couple's trust, timing, and certainty. As the prenup talk went on, people naturally began to compare where both couples are now. And this part of the talk grew even faster than the prenup did. Selena and Benny have been calm, steady, and in sync in all of their recent appearances. On the other hand, Justin and Hailey have been very open about taking things one day at a time, which fans see very differently. It's not often that two relationships are compared this closely. The internet can't ignore the difference, though. Selena and Benny seem at ease talking about their marriage. When they talk about each other, they don't seem nervous, hesitate, or doubt. Every interview seems to be the same. They seem like two people who know what their roles are, what their limits are, and what stage of life they're in. That feeling of peace has become one of the most talked about things. People see confidence, not stress. One fan said that Selena talks about Benny without even thinking about it. No trying to prove anything or going into too much detail, just clear and simple. And to be honest, that's true. Her voice never sounds defensive or shaky. It's usually a good sign in any relationship, even with famous people. But fans say that Justin and Hailey's energy is different. People talk about, explain, defend, and talk about their relationship a lot. They often talk about their problems, the good and bad times, and how hard it is to stay balanced. When they talk to you, even in short interviews, you can tell they're being careful with what they say. Another fan said that Justin and Hailey sometimes seem unsure when they talk about their marriage in public, as if they're more worried about how it looks than how it really feels. People are very interested in every little thing they do together, whether or not that view is fair. The internet isn't the one who decides who has the better relationship. It's about seeing which one looks stable and which one looks hard. When you put both of them next to each other, it's easy to see why fans think Selena and Benny's prenup is a sign of confidence, not worry, At the same time, the Bieber family's public updates often seem cautious, guarded, and still trying to find stability. After looking at everything, the prenup, the reactions, the comparisons, and how both relationships are doing now, it's clear that the internet isn't just following the news, it's seeing patterns. Some choices make things more stable, while others show stress. Each couple deals with this in their own way. But now I want to hear what you have to say. Which moment stood out to you the most when you looked at these two relationships next to each other, and why do you think it had such a big effect? Be honest about what you think, because that one moment says a lot about how people feel about love today. As the talk about prenups and famous couples went on, fans began to share their own stories and thoughts. A lot of people said that the document itself isn't what matters most. Instead, it's how couples handled trust, communication, and respect. Some people talked about friends or family members who were honest from the start and had strong, lasting relationships. Others said that even small misunderstandings about money or boundaries could cause problems over time. Fans quickly started talking about their own lives on social media, not just Selena and Benny or Justin and Haley. They also talked about how they would deal with similar situations. The talk went from gossip about celebrities to real life lessons about love, relationships, and safety. People started to wonder things like, would I feel safe if my partner wanted a prenup? Or does being careful mean I don't completely trust my partner? By the end of the day, it was clear that this wasn't just a talk about contracts or fame. It was about figuring out what makes a relationship strong, how trust and honesty are important, and why every couple, famous or not, has their own problems. And even though people had different opinions, one thing stood out. People are very interested in how love and practical choices can work together.